For those of you who know me only through your contact with me on Sunday mornings, you might be surprised to learn that I am an introvert. Not just somewhat introverted, but some would even say painfully introverted. Considering the fact that I speak before a crowd of people each Sunday, as well as the fact that I interact with strangers and congregation members on a social level all through the week, considering the fact that I sometimes find myself staring into a news camera, speaking to a reporter, or talking to a group of people about MCC churches, people who may be less than receptive to hearing what I have to say. Considering all these things, you may feel I've chosen the wrong vocation. That's okay. I sometimes feel the same thing. But then I remember, I didn't choose it. It chose me. And I also remember the fact that, ironically, there are many, many more introverted ministers than just me. One of the qualities that we introverts share is the fact that most of us enjoy observing other people. And whereas indoor shopping malls used to be the place that we hung out, sitting on a bench, entertaining ourselves with the steady stream of people and their self-revealing conversations, now we can do it from the comfort of our homes by simply logging onto Facebook. There are people whose posts you enjoy because they always have something warm and witty to say. Some people use Facebook as an awareness tool, passing along news articles, videos, music, and other information that they are hoping will benefit the lives of other people. But there is one person I know who uses it for whining. Most of us moan and complain about something every now and then, but this particular person can be counted on to whine just about any time he makes a post. And it's almost always about how no one loves him, how he has been taken advantage of by yet another hustler, and how bored and lonely he is. All men are pigs, and he simply can't understand why no one can see what an obviously wonderful partner he would be. And on it goes ad nauseum. In short, there is no peace in his life. His life is a wilderness. It is a barren wasteland of day after day of self-centered arrogance. The only oasis of happiness is when he manages to entrap some poor, unsuspecting, needy soul who wanders his way, the relationship only lasting a few weeks or a few months if he's lucky. And sooner or later, though, Facebook once again becomes his microphone for yet another litany of weeping and wailing about how he has been abandoned by yet another person who failed to recognize his goodness. By now, you might have figured out from the tone of my words that he annoys me. In fact, I haven't met anyone who he doesn't annoy. So why, you may be asking yourself, do I bother reading his brain droppings? Because quite simply, he is a reflection of myself on more occasions than I would like to admit. You may have heard it said that the things that annoy you most about other people are the very things within your own life that you need to take a look at. And I've found it to be so. When people complain about someone else's control issues, more times than not they have their own struggles with control issues. Those of us who accuse others of gossip exhibit our own highly honed skills as gossipers. And those of us who claim to hate high drama are often the source of it. And so if I'm honest with myself, the reason this particular Facebook friend annoys me so much is because he reflects the side of me that I would rather not look at. The side that can never receive enough love or appreciation. The side that sometimes feels like life is a barren wilderness and wasteland. The side that cries out for someone else to fix my feelings. The side that believes that my happiness is dependent upon other people, places, or things. I have had these sorts of feelings. And I'm just betting you have too. At one time or another in your life, maybe even today, you have been so desperate for comfort and peace in your life. And it feels like you've looked everywhere and tried everything. You feel like the author of Ecclesiastes who comes to the conclusion that all things are wearisome, more than one can express. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, or the ear filled with hearing. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. But this morning's text points out that the reason we can't find any comfort or peace in our lives is because we are looking in the wrong places. All people are grass, it says. The grass withers, the flower fades when the breath of God blows upon it. Surely the people are grass. Our problem is we are looking for something that will last among those things that don't last. People are like grass, we are reminded. And grass fades and withers. People let us down. So why in the world do we continue to look for our happiness in others? If we're looking for some comfort and peace in our lives, it's not going to be found in other people. It will only be found if we are brave enough and courageous enough to look within our own souls. Peace is not something that happens to us. It's something we choose. And we choose peace when we allow a power that is greater than ourselves to take the reins of our lives. And when we do that, we change. Not life. Life still happens the same way it has always happened. But how we deal with life, how we take on life, how we cope with life changes. We change. Life is still a wilderness, a seeming wasteland. But when we quit looking to others to fix us, suddenly we discover that within the wilderness desert, a straight highway has appeared, to use the words of Isaiah. There are still valleys through which we must travel, but they don't seem quite so dark. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. There are still mountains that we must climb, but they don't seem quite so insurmountable. In the words of today's text, every valley shall be lifted up, and every mountain and hill be made low. The uneven ground shall become level, and the rough places a plain. When the valleys of life seem so dark that I'm too afraid to take the next step, when the mountains in life seem so high that I feel certain they can never be crossed, when life seems crazy and out of control, when I feel so desperately unloved and lonely, then almost every single time, the reasons I am having these extreme feelings is because my focus is on everyone and everything except me. I am like my Facebook friend who can't understand that the only peace he will ever find will be the peace that he finds within himself. But if I am able to remember what this season is really about, the advent of hope for a new day, a day in which peace reigns in our lives, if I can remember lasting happiness will never be found in the millions of dollars that were spent on Black Friday or Cyber Monday, if I can remember that, I choose the way of peace when I look within myself and discover that I am God's own beloved child and that God is well pleased with me. If I can remember these things, then I have some semblance of peace in my life. Advent is a time of waiting and renewal. And the closing verses of the chapter from which this morning's text is taken tell us, those who wait for God shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. May your waiting be rewarded, not only with strength and renewal, but also with peace, the peace that passes all understanding. May God make it so in your life this season and in mine. Amen.